Look around and you'll see a lot of people sprinting nowhere. The average professional spends the decade downloading new apps, tweaking their morning routine, and hacking their calendar to squeeze in one more task. They get faster, but they don't get further. This visualization tracks two distinct paths over a decade. The tactical hustle line plateaus early as physical effort reaches its limit. In contrast, architectural effectiveness begins with a flat period of foundational work before the compounding effect creates a sharp exponential curve. In 1989, Stephen Covey mapped this curve in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. These habits function as cognitive assets. Much like real estate or index funds, they generate returns long after the initial investment is spent. Building them requires a harsh trade-off. You have to give up the cheap dopamine hit of clearing your inbox and being busy. Instead, you have to embrace the painful discipline of aligning your daily actions with long-term leverage. The longest horizon asset you can possibly build starts with habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. This operates on a timeline that extends decades, sometimes generations beyond your own life. It demands a specific input. You have to sit down and explicitly define the metrics by which your life will be judged at your funeral. You aren't writing tomorrow's to-do list. You are drafting the architectural blueprint for your legacy. Taking this seriously hurts. It forces you to look in the mirror and ask a terrifying question. What if your current 80-hour work weeks are highly efficient at building a life you don't actually want? Establishing this ultimate outcome creates a functional filter for every future decision. It provides a standard to evaluate new requests, making it easier to ignore distractions and manufactured emergencies that don't align with the long-term mission. Before you can direct automated systems or leverage AI to scale your output, you need internal leverage. That is habit 1. Be proactive. The required input is absolute. You have to assume 100% responsibility for how you respond to every single external event. No exceptions. This graphic breaks down the asset exchange. By trading absolute responsibility, you acquire emotional leverage, gaining control over the window between trigger and reaction. But look closely at the cost column. You permanently lose the comfort of complaining and playing the victim. If you can't control your own cognitive reactions, you will never have the discipline required to orchestrate complex external business systems. This internal response mechanism is the mandatory prerequisite for everything else. Habit 3, put first things first, operates a lot like acquiring a profitable small business. It's about skipping the grind of low-value tasks and protecting pure, uninterrupted cash flow, in this case, your time. Let's update the matrix. Habit 3 requires ruthless triage. You must actively eliminate tasks that feel urgent but carry zero long-term importance. By doing this, the asset you generate is focus cash flow, reclaiming your daily hours for high-leverage creation. The friction here is social. You have to accept that you will inevitably disappoint people in the short term. You will have to look colleagues in the eye and say no to requests that matter to them. This exposes the massive gap between doing truly important systemic work and chasing the hollow satisfaction of bringing your inbox to zero. One builds wealth, the other just keeps you employed. Focusing exclusively on inputs that compound over time shifts the needle in a way that sheer speed never can. Interpersonal communication isn't a zero-sum game. Habits 4 and 5, think win-win and seek first to understand, are the ultimate tools for building your reputation and network. Human nature pushes us to formulate a reply and win the argument while the other person is still speaking. Fighting that instinct requires intense discipline. You have to listen purely for comprehension. The required input here is deliberate ego suppression. You hold back your own agenda long enough to uncover the core underlying needs of the person sitting across from you. Look at the third row on our chart. Investing in understanding generates network trust. This asset unlocks premium deals and capital that money alone cannot buy. The cost is this process feels excruciatingly slow, requiring extreme vulnerability that brute force negotiation bypasses. Keep in mind, this network acts exactly like a real-world financial asset. If you neglect these relationships or break your commitments, the asset rapidly depreciates and the deal flow dries up. In a high-stakes environment, an impeccable reputation built on genuine understanding generates lucrative opportunities that a purely transactional mindset simply never sees. Habit 6 is synergize. In financial terms, this is the equivalent of scaling commercial real estate or building compounding business equity. It centers on finding the third alternative. Instead of settling for a diluted compromise where everyone gives up something, you combine divergent perspectives to create a completely new solution. Let's add the final row to the matrix. The output is asymmetric returns, exponentially greater than the sum of individual inputs. But creating synergy is heavy. You must navigate high friction, endure ego clashes, and sit in the discomfort of finding the best way. Once that collaborative asset is built, it operates like an autonomous engine. It produces high-level results without relying solely on your physical presence in the room. True wealth creation requires abandoning solo contributor brute force. You have to shift your energy into architectural system building. Every single habit we just covered in this framework becomes entirely worthless if the underlying machine breaks down. That brings us to habit 7, sharpen the saw. This is the ultimate enabler, representing your health and your high-income skills. The necessary input is time. You must allocate non-negotiable daily hours exclusively to physical, mental, and spiritual renewal. You are trading slower apparent progress today for decades of sustained high performance. You are actively preventing the catastrophic capacity drain that takes most professionals out of the game by age 50. Regular maintenance provides the sustained capacity required for these assets to function. It is the operating system that makes compounding possible over a multi-decade career. Let's look at this framework stripped down to its core. Without the operating system, the rest of the machinery simply fades away. This structure is built strictly for the ambitious professional, willing to endure short-term implementation friction to build an uncapped systemic upside. If you're looking for quick biohacks or refuse to take absolute accountability for your current situation, this system won't work for you. Here is the challenge. Choose exactly 3 of these habits to implement over the next 90 days. You have the structural blueprint. Now you have to do the work, because the distance between knowledge and wealth is entirely an action gap.